Hey everyone, it's Linda here with the intuitive painting of the month for January 2020. And this painting that we created yesterday live from the Facebook group is now becoming the card Embrace the Unknown. So the words that came through for the card say, Embrace the unknown. You simply don't know what you don't know, and that's okay. Don't overthink it. Just dance with the winds of change. Enjoy the unfolding adventure. Trust the power of partnership and allow compassion to lead. So I'm going to go through some of the symbolic elements, but I wanted to also share what came through while I was kind of sitting with it, meditating with the image, and just allowing it to speak to me, really. And I saw like dancers. So in dance, and I'm not a trained dancer or anything, but I do know that there's kind of this saying or whatever, like 1 + 1 = 1. So it's this idea of partnership and really trusting your partner. And what I was feeling around that analogy was like our partnership with our higher self or the divine, and really kind of this dance. And that was the energy I was feeling while we were painting, is this kind of flowing back and forth and moving, and this unity and kind of coming together. And so it feels like trusting that and allowing compassion to lead, allowing your higher self, your connection to that divine core, through love, excuse me, to really lead you when, one of the main elements of this painting is that a lot of the image just aren't, they're not very complete. They're pieces that kind of come together, that give indication, but we don't really know. We were talking about maybe a feather up here, another dragon, a wolf. There's lots of kind of this abstract, it's not fully representational, but we can see indications of things. And that's kind of what the feeling is moving forward, is there's lots of potential, lots of very active, intense energies taking shape, but we don't fully know exactly what it's going to be. So that's kind of the idea, is embracing the unknown, being okay with not knowing, and just not really overthinking it. So where that came from was this nose. It was one of the first things, was this nose of maybe this dragon or snake or whatever this creature is. I'm feeling dragon. I know some people were saying snake. It's kind of that same shape. It kind of reminds me of reptile, and I was looking at this heart being on like the forebrain or the prefrontal cortex, and so I was thinking like a reptilian brain, and how we kind of move on instinct and this idea of perception. And so as I was thinking about the nose, and I was thinking about olfactory and how that's a different type of sense. And really for humans, a lot of animals rely on their sense of smell for survival and mating and all those kinds of things. The butterfly, the monarch in particular, uses scent to communicate. And when we're infants, our sense of smell is very strong because we haven't developed, like, our sense of vision isn't quite complete and those kinds of things. But we lose it. So I feel like there's an element of recovering, or maybe developing new senses, but also recovering old ones too, is just a piece of that coming up in this year. I feel like it's kind of an overview of the whole year ahead, but it's very specifically, I was kind of shown the next couple months, like February, March, and that's related to this image of the monarch. So the monarch's got these different generations. It's kind of got this whole, it's really fascinating. So the monarch butterfly, it has these phases. We're all familiar with the caterpillar becomes a butterfly, but then there's generations that kind of complete a cycle also. And what I'm feeling with this one, because its wings kind of look like autumn leaves, that it is the fourth generation, it's the last generation that's come out of hibernation. In February and March, the fully formed butterfly, it ends its wintering and then begins to go out to seek a mate and begin the cycle again. And I was feeling that kind of this reproduction. So there's kind of this beginning. It's an ending and a beginning of a cycle is best I can describe that. And the major images aside from the butterfly, the first thing that came out was this phoenix, and the second is a dragon. And I totally forgot while I was painting it, but they form a coupling. There's these two symbolic images, or these two creatures are paired together often in some cultures to represent like the perfect couple, or yin and yang, or this complete unity. And so I found that really interesting too, combined with the idea of the beginning of the mating season for the monarch butterfly. And I feel like they represent sort of this harmony, success and prosperity, this unity. And so, yeah, so this sense of smell too. So I sometimes receive messages. It's kind of like, I can't remember what it's called, clairalience. I can't remember. But when you receive information psychically through the sense of smell, I feel like that's a piece of it. This nose also, it's in the shape of a heart, and I feel like it's related to the passion here, but it can also be symbolic of like virility and power. And then I kept saying like on the nose, and I couldn't remember while I was painting. I kept hearing it, and I couldn't remember what that phrase actually meant. And then when I was back in my analytical mind, I was like, oh yeah, it means kind of like exactly right, or obvious, or very literal. There's no subtext, like it's all in front of you. And so in the card, the phrase "don't overthink it." So it's like, just take things as they are. Don't you don't need to overthink things. And that's actually what this image kind of, it was like a catalyst for that. Like, oh, what does this mean? What does that mean? And I couldn't quite grasp the message of it right away until I just kind of let go and let my higher self kind of step in and lead. And that's the feeling of it. So it really makes a lot of sense that way too. So that's one of the messages that is wanting to be heard, is to just let your higher self lead now. Trust in that partnership between you and the divine. It also, this card, so when the card's printed and it's part of the deck, when it comes up, it could relate to relationships. It does have a lot of that going on, and with the colors too. So like beige, there's this beige kind of running through it. Often that can represent like unification, and it's right down the middle here, so that's kind of neat. The pink is often about love and romance, and then I'm just going to go through all the colors. The turquoise here can represent like calm, and it does feel very peaceful. It feels like, and then the dragon too can be a symbol of protection and confidence, so it does feel very sure. And even though it's very flowing, it feels quite stable and secure, and it feels like right timing and right place and those kinds of things. The red, as we talked about a little bit, is like this intensity and passion. There's so much intensity, and that also relates to this orange, which is kind of demanding attention. We see it sometimes on, like construction signs and warning signs and things like that. And really the monarch is that color because it's telling other creatures, like, you don't want to mess with me, like I'm not something you want to eat, I'm dangerous. And so I love that, this very graceful, beautiful butterfly is also like, hey, don't mess with me. So there's a sense of confidence in it too. And then like this fiery phoenix. And then we talked about this shape right here looking like someone holding on to the phoenix, and that, when I was saying, what do you want to convey, or what do you want to say, that was about like enjoying the ride, enjoy the unfolding adventure. There's very much this kind of magical, adventurous component to the whole thing, rising up through the sky and kind of doing this dance. The purple, which is just kind of woven through, is often represents spirituality, kind of our higher chakras, you know, and our crown and that connection. It's also a grace and just kind of a very flowing, it's a very light lavender color. And so talking again about this heart that showed up, when this heart showed up, it brought with it all these other hearts. It started to kind of like populate itself, and we talked a little bit about that, like duplication or reproduction, and that feels like it's a piece of it. So again, if this card shows up, it could be related to trusting. I almost am seeing like if someone is trying to create something, a pregnancy, a new business, a new place to live, those kinds of things, that this would be a great card to come up to show that there is success and prosperity coming, that those things are happening. So it talks a lot about, or it kind of is showing us this manifestation, the potentials that yes, it's happening. And right here being on that kind of prefrontal cortex, that forebrain, which relates to, you know, those executive decisions. So it's like the focus, the planning, the linear thinking, and it's related to our perception. And so this heart is sitting right there saying, like, if we allow our compassionate, you know, if we allow compassion to kind of flavor our perception and our planning, to let that lead. And so that's what the card says, allow compassion to lead. So allow compassion to lead that dance back and forth between the spiritual and the practical, and you know, masculine and feminine energies, action and reception, and kind of just let it be whatever it's going to be. That's where we kind of left the painting, was like every time I'd want to go in there and add more, define more, it really was like, no, just let it, you know. And I remember at one point asking the painting, what more do you want, or what more do you need? And it was like, what more would I need? You know, it was kind of like, what do you mean? I'm good as is. And so that's kind of embracing the unknown is really just acceptance at the core, accepting that there will always be unknown. We don't know what we don't know, and there will always be more. And that's what makes life so fun and adventurous. So good stuff coming this year. Embrace the unknown, embrace the new year and all the adventure that's coming your way. Take care. Bye-bye.